Thank you very much. Thanks, James. This is the crusher, by the way. We just finished it and announced that it was complete today. I'll show you a little bit more about that as we go. Just for those who aren't familiar with the company, and I can see a lot of great shareholders in the audience, our main flagship project is La Perilla in southwestern Spain. That's under development in production. Our second major project is Regua, which is in northern Portugal. That is fully approved for development and in a slow and almost stealth manner, that's steadily going into production as well. And in central Portugal, we've got the São Martinho gold deposit. We're going to have some new JORC estimates of that in the new year. A little bit of delay in that, but that's looking like a really nice little gold mine. Our focus is very much on tungsten. For those who don't know, W is the periodic table element for tungsten, and La Perilla is the primary focus. So La Perilla starts with what we call the T2, so 2 million tonnes of run-of-mine ore feeding into our state-of-the-art plant. We're in production, we're shipping tungsten, and we're receiving revenue. We will complete the T2 by the end of March, and then we'll move to very large-scale production in the second quarter of 2019. So that's going to be two very important, if you like, pivot points for the company. So the T2 is the base. Don't forget the T3.5. The T3.5 has been embedded in the design of what we're building at the moment. So the crusher that we announced was complete today, has the capacity to be expanded with very limited cost to move up to 3.5 million tonnes per annum of run-of-mine feed. All of the designs are embedded, and we can move from that scale to the larger scale very quickly. That's important because it allows us to double our cash flows and earnings, or EBITDA, from 20 million per annum to 40 million per annum. That's about our market capitalisation at the moment, so 1 to 1. We are very advanced on the EIA approval of the T3.5. It's going to be, I'd expect, in the first half, middle of 2019. So keep your eye out for that, because that gives us enormous leverage off the back of the expansion of the T2. We also have very substantial tungsten and tin growth off the back of that base. Our eye is on the prize, La Perilla T2, but we reported this year some very, very high grade results from the Tarouca deposit, which is south of Regua. We have all the approvals and all the necessary infrastructure, if you like, in place to put Regua in production in 2019. And we're not standing around waiting. There's a number of very nice licenses in the Iberian Peninsula, and I agree with Lawrence that it's a fantastic jurisdiction to be in. Better than Italy, better than certainly the UK at the moment. And so we've got growth options embedded there. But you know, the cash is going to come from the T2. Very important, you've got to be a low-cost producer. We're very low cost in terms of operating costs, but most importantly at the moment, we're very low cost in terms of capital intensity or units of capital to produce production capacity. So where are we? We're building La Perilla on schedule, and we're tracking below budget. We've commenced production. We have a very disciplined plan to go from the current levels of production up to a target of 200 tonnes per month, which is around 3 million of monthly revenue by the end of 2019. So finishing the project, ramping it up is a key priority. Building that earnings potential through 2019 creates substantial earnings and substantial value growth for shareholders, and that's what we're focused on delivering. And you know, as many people have commented, we've got the full support of the local authorities, with the Extremadura government providing us with 5.3 million in grants, which we will receive in 2019. Just for those who aren't so familiar, but also to remind everybody, La Perilla is a very large-scale deposit, currently around about, well, currently a JORC of 49 million tonnes of resources. A small amount of drilling is going to fairly substantially increase that. It's low cost. On the final investment decision report, $94 per MTU. We're going to make sure we deliver on that, because that's critical for long-term success. It's currently got a JORC mine life of 11 years. Again, a small amount of drilling is going to fairly substantially increase that, but that's more than enough for an economic development. First ore into the plant in Q1 2019. Simple, low-cost processing, gravity. Nothing complicated. And we've got offtake with the top European and US customers, in particular Sandvik, which owns the very large WBH plant in Austria. Tungsten's used in all manner of different applications. Transport, cars, trucks, aerospace is the big one. It's used in all manner of applications, through everything from composite fibre Boeing 777s to the crankshafts in your car. There is very substantial growth year on year in tungsten in both China, which is just an industrial powerhouse, and under Senor Trump, with just massive increases in military expenditure, massive increases in attention to mining, manufacturing and industrial growth. Year on year, the US grew some 30%, 2016 to 2017, in terms of tungsten consumption. That is very large for a mature economy. Prices of tin, about 10 to 15% of our revenues, and tungsten are strong. I think at the 280 to 320 mark, which is where we've been trading for the last couple of years, that's a very good price band to come into production, and we're receiving revenue on the basis of that pricing at the moment. You've got to be on the bottom of the cost curve. This is the ranking of the highest cost producers down to the lowest cost ones. We've got to make sure, as we design this plant, as we tighten our operating costs, that we deliver on that low cost position, because that's the key to long-term success. On the capital cost side of things, the reason we were able to finance this project with BlackRock, the reason we go into the startup of production with a very modest amount of debt, is because we've got much lower capital intensity, much lower amount of investment to be able to produce large amounts of tungsten. And the reason for that is because we have phenomenal existing infrastructure. This just down the corner is the main highway from Madrid to Seville and Madrid to Lisbon. This is a big water irrigation channel built by Franco that supplies the long-term needs of the project. These are the existing operational tailings dams. We have power supply, we have labs. We start with very, very good established infrastructure, which radically reduces the capital cost to put our plants into production. We have low-cost processing, 1-to-1 strip ratio, truck and shovel mining, the crusher, the jig that's incredibly efficient at upgrading the material from the mine by rejecting 55% of the waste and doubling the grade of the material before it goes into the concentrator. And then we have a gravity separation circuit of spirals, shaking tables, sulfide flotation, and finally electrostatic separation, which separates the tungsten from the tin. All of this is operational in a smaller plant. It's been refined and automated for a larger plant, but it all works and produces commercial tungsten that we're shipping today. This is the tungsten coming off the shaking tables. One of the important milestones we hit in November was production start. Second milestone that we hit, I think it was last week, it's been a busy month, was first shipment and first payment. WBH, our customer, picks up the tungsten from us at the mine site and pays us 3 days later. That's a good working capital position to be in. Crusher completion. The crusher is the largest physical part of our plant. It's the part that we managed ourselves with the help of Metso, the leading crushing engineers. We reached mechanical completion today, and that's a very important milestone. And that crusher is going to allow us to kick up the rate of production of tungsten in the new year. We're looking for first ore in January into this crushing plant. This is the mine. Sorry for the drone driver. This is the mine. We'll go down here and up to the top of the ROM pad, which is, hopefully nobody's dizzy. There's the crusher. And that's the fine ore bin. So that's finished. We're turning over the motors. We're commissioning it very steadily at the moment. And having that piece of equipment up and running is a great milestone for the company. Will improve the drone driver's work. So that's what it looks like. A little bit closer up. As I mentioned, we're on overall, we're building La Perla. We're on schedule for completion. The crusher's mechanically complete. We're commissioning it at the moment. The jig will be completed in the first quarter 2019, as will the concentrator. Nearly all of the concrete works are complete. The project is tracking below budget. And we're getting ready and operationally ready with all the things we need to make sure that we can ramp up to large-scale production. That's going from around about 20 tonnes a month to 200 tonnes a month, starting in the June quarter. So we're producing around about 20 tonnes per month at full-scale production on a run rate basis. Australia's not doing so well at the cricket at the moment, but on a run rate basis, 2,500 tonnes per annum, about 200 tonnes per month. This is the 3D of the plant. I guess you can go backwards and see what it looks like built. These are a few quick pictures to give you the sense. So this is the ROM pad, the primary crusher, secondary crusher, the conveyors. I think I can see a large number of members actually came on a site visit last September. It's been remarkable how quickly each of these components gets built once all the foundations and the other equipment's in place. This is, we get power from grid power. We also get power from LNG gensets, which is incredibly cost effective, more cost effective than we expected. There's the timeline. We're hitting all the marks. Production start, crusher completion, first shipment. We'll feed first ore into the crusher in January. We'll finish, mechanically complete the jig in February. We'll commission the jig in March. We'll complete the concentrator in March. And we're moving into large-scale production from April. We're delivering on all these dates. I'll just touch on Regula briefly. Regula is in northern Portugal. Its grades are 3 times the grades of La Perilla. It's development ready, so we can go and mine. It's low capital cost, but we're spending only a very limited amount on preparation of that project. We use existing crushers and existing plants to bring into production. It's thick skarn veins, and it'll be a nice addition to our tungsten production capacity. This is São Martinho. We announced recently that we're getting SRK to do the resource estimate, and that's looking like a very nice gold mine development. We'll work out how best we deliver that value to shareholders. This is the management team. We're wearing orange, not yellow. Lots of experience. One of the big focuses of the management team is to make sure we have well-trained top people in place to commission and run the plant. A lot of the risks associated with building it on budget and on schedule have been dealt with. Not that we don't have, problems that we have to deal with every day, but the key challenge as we go into 2019 is planned, steady ramp up in production. And we've got a very good team that we're continuing to build to achieve that. So, why invest in W Resources? Firstly, we have large, low-cost mines. We're funded. BlackRock provided a $35 million loan facility to the company. We're near construction completion. You can see literally on a weekly or a monthly basis us hitting the milestones in terms of delivery. To achieve that, we have a very skilled can-do team. To be successful in this business, you've got to, if a problem comes up, you've got to be able to fix it in 2 hours, not 2 days. And that's the key to being able to bring a plant of this scale into production steadily. You're going to see significant earnings growth through 2019. That's a transition from where we've been to where we're going. And have a look at the TPI brokers report. I'm going to get Ben and James to update that. But we're nowhere near the brokers' valuations, which are around 70 to 80 million US. And if you actually look at the fundamentals of the project, we're north of 100 million. So lots of upside for shareholders in terms of participating in this journey. Thank you for all coming.
Thank you, Michael. Do we have any questions at all? One man, I need to go.
Good evening, Michael. First of all, I really ought to say this, but I've spent an hour before coming here with the investors who went to the site visit in September, and what a motley crew they were. But
I'm sure they weren't as dressed as nicely as you are, Charles.
They still managed to turn up tonight and showed some enthusiasm for your venture. And I think they were all extremely grateful, and I think I speak on their behalf, for the courtesy and the comradeship of not only you, but the people who worked with you on the site. And they were all equally impressed as I was as to what was going on. Thank you for that. Now to my question. It's a short question because I'm sure other people will have questions, but I was so delighted that you managed to get the local Extremadura government through the assistance of Fernando and Costello to get this grant, which is going to fall in, and it was told it was after the mechanics was set up and so forth. But it also indicated that it was dependent on the numbers of employees that were taken on by W Resources. Now, I understand from recent announcements that you have actually started production in a sort of beneficent production in the sense that you're using the existing plant to train people, and that's going to go 24/7 and ramp up during December and therefrom with the new crusher. So given that, is there some hope that we can see this grant being perhaps awarded to you early in the new year, given that those requirements of employment will be met by then?
So there's two conditions for being paid the grant. The first is that we employ 25 people. We currently employ 19, and obviously with commissioning this plant, we'll hit the 25 mark. I think we end up with, including all the shifts, we end up with about 50 to 75. So we're going to overshoot that target in spades. The second condition is that we actually complete and demonstrate to the ministry that we've completed the capital investment and completion of the plant that we said we would. Crushes the first plant off the blocks, jig, concentrator by March. I think we're looking at the grant second quarter, third quarter.
Any other questions?
The grant's 5.3 million euros.
Hi, Michael. I've been an investor now for more than 6 years, and I've been extremely impressed, in all honesty, with the way in which the project has gone forward. I understand why you stopped the production in terms of the tailings, etc., because the tungsten price just went downhill and so forth, and now it's come back up. Really, I think what I'd like to know, and I think what a lot of investors that have been in for a long time would like to know, is where do you personally see that this company is likely to go within the next 12 to maybe 36 months?
So the immediate target is have the plant ramped up to design capacity by the end of 2019 and have a very good exit 2019 with design production and very strong cash flows. I'd like to, back end of 2020 or 21, refinance or retire through cash flow the BlackRock debt so that we go to a next step in terms of, let's call it fiscal strength. And then we have the potential to step up quite substantially the production rates through the expansion to 3.5 and bring on Regawa at reasonably good production rates. So in a let's call it a 36-month time frame, if we hit our straps, we're going to have T2 production at design. We're going to be kicking out cash flow, and we're going to have all the preconditions for very substantial growth in our production capacity and, more importantly, our earnings.
Can we have a question from someone who's not going to be so nice to him?
Michael, one of my questions is, you were talking about, I think it's T2 and T3 being 20 million and 40 million EBITDA per year. If you look at broker valuation between 70 and 80 million, as a PE ratio, that's extremely low. Why is that? I'm not an expert on mining companies, but why is a PE ratio on the face of it so low?
So, well, I think it's...
Conservative type.
Yeah, there.
These analysts as well, yeah.
There's a lot of risk. So there was a very good research report that's down the back of the room from TPI, from Phil Finfen, that was done in August, I think, 2017. So it could well do with an update, Mr. Pope.
I think it's overdue.
You know, you're in a different position once the capital's behind you and you're looking forward. You do need to, in evaluation, you need to take the future cash flows and subtract off that 35 mil of debt. But I think the future cash flows are well in excess of 100 million. Take off 35, you're...
Even the economic value, you would think, is much larger than the broker valuations. Anyway, one more question, I promise, in 3 parts.
3 parts.
Dividend payments. Any ideas of any hopes going forward of dividend payments? We're going to generate $20 to $40 million per year EBITDA. Do you have an inkling or an idea of what a dividend policy might be? Maybe I'll be greedy, 1/3 EBITDA to shareholders.
So I think it's very important that we're strongly capitalised through 19, early 20. I think if we can effect a refinancing in 20 or 21, then we have very large earning capacity that we can turn back to dividend payments or share buybacks.
The second part of the first question is a consolidation issue of shares. We have something like 5.7 billion shares issued at the moment, which is quite a lot. And we really are, actually, I'd like to think we're a penny share, but we're not quite there yet. Do you mind?
You might. I might hand that across to my financial advisor.
No, it's funny enough, we went and saw Gervais Williams fairly recently, and one of the things we put to him is whether we should be looking to consolidate shares. And it was absolutely not. You seem to have these kind of fund managers who always want the share to be 50p plus to get involved. And for him, it's quite the opposite. He likes the share to have a good retail following. I think if you do that consolidation, you often lose that kind of retail following.
How many shares does he have? He hasn't actually told anyone.
It's a decent proportion of the money that was raised.
Yes.
The vast majority.
So when's it going to be reported?
Well, they don't have to announce unless it's over 10% of the company funds. He's told us that he's happy for it to be announced. Unfortunately, he was away when we chased him up the other day, so I'll give him a call tomorrow.
Let us know when you contact.
I will.
The third part of the question is, I'm extremely comfortable about
Seems like 3 questions. Go ahead.
You do what you can. I'm very comfortable with La Perilla and Regula in Portugal. It all sounds absolutely fantastic. Quite excited by the gold situation, especially from your last interview when you said for the first time, I think we have a great gold asset. But I look back at the previous announcements, 1st of May 2018, 13th of July 2018, 10th of September, when you were talking about having 15 drills, I think 7 on the western deposit, 8 on the eastern deposit. And then it went very quiet thereafter, and then you changed, going from Golder to someone else. Is that still a positive outlook for us for the gold? Should I be as excited as I think I'm being excited?
Well, I think look, put it in. If I was to put round numbers on it, La Perilla is 100 million. Rega was 10 going to 20. At the moment, São Martinho is probably a good 10. People understand gold. We're talking about million. São Martinho's, the things I really like about São Martinho is it's got very good recoveries. It's at surface, so mining costs are going to be low. And the more work we do on it, the bigger it gets. Focus has to be on La Perilla. People are buying W shares for tungsten tin exposure, not for gold. But it's moving along really nicely, and we're gonna apply for a trial mine license. Yep.
Are you going to have to shoot off immediately? You can stay around for
No, I'm around. Yep.
I have one more question, then, if that's okay.
Hi, Michael. I'm going to attempt to give you a hard time, but first of all, congratulations on a fantastic year. I think I speak for probably a lot of shareholders in saying we've come a huge way forward. And those who were on the La Perilla visit were immensely impressed.
Sorry, how many people did you say when you were payroll?
But I'm going to try and give you a hard time. First of all, not really a hard time, but a couple of questions, really.
Maybe we got to 25 already.
I'm very interested in the La Perilla license area is huge, and the extension drilling that you referred to a couple of times. Is there really a great potential to substantially increase this resource? That's my first question. My second question, actually, Paul Stolen, which was, we're very keen to get an update on the gold. And I would finally say, just a point for you, never say never, because some of the shareholders, I think, were a little bit disappointed with the recent placing. I personally wasn't, and I took part in it. But never say never when it comes to raising future finance, because I think we've got a great future here, and we've got a lot of things to invest in and a lot of money to raise in the future. And we should never turn away the opportunity to do that. Okay, that's my that's my contribution. But come back to the two things about La Perilla extension drilling and also, again, the gold, please.
So on the La Perilla is as you said, a very large mining lease. We have done. We've actually put a gigantic exploration lease around it because we think there's substantial potential over and above the existing mining lease. It's very clear to us that we've got outcropping tungsten at grade that's currently not in the resource, and some limited drilling will convert inferred into indicated, allow us to incorporate that in the mine plans under the JORC guidelines, and both drop our strip ratio, which drops our mining costs, and increase the mine life and the size of the resource. So we can see literally at the surface of the ore body areas where a small amount of drilling is going to increase the size of that resource, and we'll certainly drill that over the next 12 to 18 months. We've also, on the drilling front, just within the ore body, we've done a lot of grade control drilling, preparing for production, and I think there'll be some nice surprises for shareholders in that as well.
Ladies and gentlemen, Michael Mosman.
Thank you, everybody.